Oh, this way. Let's go.
OIART gives you such a good foundation and goes into so much technical stuff, but once that's there, you're set up. When you're learning the first stuff the right way, it's gonna make everything else after that so much easier and just make more sense.
Oh, I've been expecting you.
Oh, I get to have a nickname? Yeah, we kind of do. Room 21. It's like unofficial, I guess you could say. Kinda. Yeah, like we don't market it, basically, yeah. All right. Hey, I'm Anton DeLost, and I'm a producer, engineer, songwriter, mixer. I work out of my studio called Room 21 Sound, which is kind of unofficial, but it, you know, we don't. I just went over this, but we don't market it as such. And a bunch of other places whenever, you know, this place is booked out, or I work wherever I can. What I do, in the grand scheme of things, is work with an artist to take a song they've written and either co-write the rest of it with them, or just take a complete song and bring it to a finished product generally. Yeah, I mean, day to day, it's just show up and make records. It's just the real creative stuff that generally goes on. I was playing in bands. I had this little basement studio set up that my dad helped me with. Had a little like Mackie 1604, which, do they still use that at OIART? Yeah, so I learned on one of those with the Digi 001 and then moved to a Digi 003, the console version or whatever, the controller version. And so yeah, pretty basic stuff, but just recorded local bands and I knew bands from me being in a band, and honestly just tried to like give friends and local bands just like good, decent recordings, like a recording better than they could find around for next to nothing. I think I was charging like, what was it, like 30 bucks an hour or something, just like to get something in there. Then I decided to go to OIART, and I had to unlearn a lot. I realized that there was a lot of stuff that I was doing that it was like I skipped a lot of steps because I didn't learn it properly. And OIART was great to just start from scratch. Literally, it sounds crazy, but like the first couple days, I was like, oh, it's like, there was a lot of just basics to this that I didn't really ever think about. And I was doing a lot of like more complex things, like tuning vocals and recording full kits before I knew what phase was, kind of thing. Maybe a year after OIART, I decided to move to Toronto and just worked really hard and a lot, and just tried to work with bigger and better artists and just improve and just get better at what I was doing and make, you know, try to make commercially ready mixes. Fast forward to now, I have a manager now who does a lot of the networking for me and meeting with labels and management and all that kind of stuff. So that really helps in that regard, because this is such a fun job that you can just wrap up in the creative stuff and just go to day. But when you start making a decent amount of money, you have to worry about taxes. You have to worry about everything that comes with owning a business, being a small business owner. It's just so nice that I get to focus more on the creative part of it, like I should be. Obviously, it's a little later in my career that I was able to get a manager, but I was wearing all the hats for, you know, 12, 13 years. So it's a lot of just doing as much as you can to get yourself out there, meet people, go to shows, and just, yeah, like be in the thick of it. Like being in a band, I don't regret anything I did before, you know, like any band I was in, any touring, because yeah, I was losing money on the road, but also I was meeting a lot of people, and that actually amounted to a lot. When you go on tour with a band on X label, and they want you to, you know, do an acoustic thing for them, you do that, and then you're all of a sudden dealing with that label. So now you just are connected with a massive label that you wouldn't have had any other avenue to. So it's weird how stuff works. There's relationships that I've made 3 years ago that I didn't think anything of at the time, and they're just coming around now to actually amount to, you know, something work related. And it's like, you just never know. So just talk to people and become friends with people. And a lot of it's like, just be genuine. Just be a genuinely nice person, and don't come off as just like wanting work and wanting to get something from the conversation. I'm a mixer that is constantly in my head. By the way, I'm gonna address the camera for this one. By the way, if you are self-doubting your mixes and you think that'll go away, never. I used to send stuff off for mixing more than I do now. I'm generally mixing the bulk of it. I'll also mix other people's stuff a lot, going through the bare bones of the song, making sure the song is king, and I'll live by that. That's absolutely important. Next would be the delivery of the song and making the performances right for what the song needs to be. And then you can do the nerdy stuff, the sonics. And again, like you said, you're serving the song, mic choices, and generally like I have a good template these days of my go-tos, and I work on a lot of similar stuff, so I sort of know what works for what kind of aspects of the recording. And then I get to tracking and layers and producing and really, putting a lot of elements in that hopefully is, more than the artist could have imagined. And at that point, we would go to mixing, and I don't master.
Do you think you could have gotten to where you are right now without going to OIART?
No, I don't, genuinely. I think the one thing about OIART is how real it is. Every time I speak to somebody who's gone to a different school like OIART, it always sounds like it's so schooly. You know what I mean? And they don't get into a studio until second year or whatever. And they have to take all these other classes that aren't audio related. In OIART, for me, it felt like I was just learning in a studio for a year. Kind of like just a trial run, doing what you want to do for a living. And like, where else do you get something like that? Like, there's so many of these schools online that has been so popular these days where you can learn audio and learn anything really, but you don't get this kind of experience. Like, this is like, it's irreplaceable. Actually, my favorite part of OIART was the lectures, because it's exactly what you guys are talking about. It's like seeing people who are doing what you see yourself doing. Like Dan Weston. You guys know Dan Weston? You might, yeah. From around here. Yeah, he came in and talked to our class, and he had done a Living with Lions record. And I loved Living with Lions. And it was so full circle for me too, because like a couple years ago, I mixed a couple songs on their last record. That was so cool because like I remember being in OIART, listening to Dan Weston talk, like having just done that record, and now I'm working on it. It's like full circle. So yeah, for me, the lecture thing was so cool. And just hearing, again, back to the like how many jobs you could get, like all these different people coming in that like I had no idea that you could get that kind of a job. OIART gives you such a good foundation and goes into so much technical stuff, but the technical stuff, a lot of the time you'll learn along the way, but it's the foundation that once that's there, you're set up for life. I mean, it's like anything, any skill. When you learn the basics the right way, and like I said, it's not just basics, there's a whole lot more, but when you're learning the first stuff the right way, it's gonna make everything else after that so much easier and just make more sense. You'll listen and over-listen and make decisions based on comparing. Comparing is a really great tool. I do it all the time in the mixing process. But after it's done, there needs to be a point where you wash your hands of it. And when the artist is happy, the label's happy, everyone's happy, you should be happy. At least with me, like I have to try hard to trust myself and trust in the process. You're never gonna be ready, really, when you're trying to take a risk and make something of yourself. But there's something to be said about not having a plan B and just going for it, because you just have to make it work. So yeah, I think when I bought this, he had Shad's vocals going through this. If I play Midnight City, they immediately sing along.
No way.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's funny, they have a son. They had a bunch of pups, and one of their sons does that with anything Adele sings.